Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome back to my creative space. So in today's video, I actually started vlogging yesterday and then I realized that I completely did not do an introduction. So I'm here to introduce you to this kind of weekend reading vlog where I will be reading two books. The first one is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, and the second is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I actually have the audiobook out on loan from my local library, but it's due in a few days, so I thought might as well make a little vlog, and I am in a romance reading mood. So I'm going to go ahead and let you see the clip that I took yesterday of me doing a little bit of an update with Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and then I'll go ahead and give you my final thoughts on that book. Hello, I am doing my first check-in for this reading vlog. I had a long day at work. It really took something out of me today, honestly. But besides that, I actually had some time to start Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I have the audiobook out on Libby, and a few of my friends had suggested that I read Act Your Age, Eve Brown via audio because they really enjoyed that experience. And I will say I'm having a much more fun time reading with the audio because Talia Hibbert is a British author, and I think I had read Danny Brown. What's Danny Brown's title? Oh, Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I read that like with my eyes, and I feel like there was some tonality that I wasn't getting fully right because obviously I'm not British, but the audio narrator is a Black British woman, and so getting to read this book with her tonality, like she really brings Eve to life. Yeah, it is just so fun, and I think it's the right way to go with this book. Act Your Age, Eve Brown is about the youngest sister in the three Brown sisters, and I'm the youngest in my family, so I really relate to some of the complications that Danny is dealing with, and I just love how it is tackled. Like, there is a lot of humor, a lot of wit in this book. I'm about 30% in currently. There's also this like deep underlying insecurity that Eve is dealing with and just not sure where her life is leading her in a sense of career. And because I am the same age as Eve in the book, we're both 26, it just is hitting me hard seeing her navigate this feeling of inadequacy. I just enjoy the way that this conversation is being handled and just how funny the male lead Jacob is, and just the hijinks that gets them in the situation that they're in is just so funny. Because I'm having like one of those days at work, I think having such a fun and lighthearted read right now is exactly what I need. And yeah, I just really enjoy the tone of this book. I'm wondering if maybe I should go back to Danny Brown and read it via audio. I'm not sure if it's the same narrator, but I also haven't read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, so like maybe after I finish reading this, I might be interested in picking up the audio for that one. But thus far, I'm having a really good time. I'm really happy that I picked up this book, and I'm giving the audio a try. It definitely is helping with tone. I hope it continues to be fun. I'm having a really good time, and I think honestly at the rate that I'm reading, I'll probably be able to finish the book tonight and then go into the 7-Year Slip. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave the Eve Brown update as is. I'm gonna go decompress and try to find some meaning in life outside of this 9 to 5. Yeah, hopefully I can really reset and have a good weekend. I think me unknowingly starting a romance reading vlog was a good decision because clearly I need some joy and a reminder of humanity's good qualities right now because the day I had at work today. Anyway, I'm gonna get going now, and I will see you in my next update. Okay, so we're back in present day, and I did finish Actor Age Eve Brown last night, and oh my goodness, what a wholesome, lovely book it was. I definitely yesterday was not in the mood to film another update after I was decompressing from work because it was just like one of those days. And actually, I've been like back and forth thinking about like a career shift for work, and I think that has kind of affected my mood in wanting to film. So, I do apologize. I haven't been posting any videos recently, but I've just been lacking a bit of motivation because like post work, I just feel so like unsure of my life path. And yeah, I think that is affecting me wanting to film and like put out videos. But I think me coming back and reading these like very fun, lighthearted romances have really been helping. I think Actor Age Eve Brown is one that kind of surprised me because, I heard about how much fun Actor Age Eve Brown is, but there is this underlying plot point with Eve herself where she is the youngest in the family and she knows that she's not like her older siblings. She doesn't have her life together. And every time something in her career goes wrong, she kind of just jumps ship and she's like, let's start something new. And so this book is so much about her, not necessarily like self-discovery, because she is someone who is very comfortable in herself and like she has a lot of personal confidence. But there are some things that are like, she knows that she's not like her siblings and she's not like the other people in her family. And sometimes her navigating her life isn't something that other people understand. And that kind of makes it hard for her to kind of like be her most authentic self and show up authentically and like not really care that her family has this sort of like judgment and they feel disappointed in her kind of thing. And Eve, I love you. Oh my gosh. Oh, also, I know I haven't really spoken too much about Jacob, and I do like Jacob as a character. He is so sweet. He is so wholesome. And like a lot of people see him as like this grumpy person, but he's just very particular in the way that he likes things. And like, I can't speak from my own experience, but I think his representation as an autistic character was done really well. I believe it is an Own Voices narrative, but if you would like to look at Own Voices reviews, I do highly suggest that you look into that. But I do think that Jacob was handled really well, and he is just such a honest and straightforward male lead, and I really enjoyed getting to read this not so complicated dynamic that he has with Eve, and you kind of see them start off in this very silly way with her like injuring him by hitting her with his car, and we slowly see this development between the two of them, and Eve potentially thinking about maybe getting diagnosed for autism herself, and her trying to discover on her own whether or not like a diagnosis would change the way she views herself. And ultimately, it's a lot about her just being comfortable in who she is and having this self-acceptance and not allowing other people's judgment to affect how she feels about herself. Yeah, they're just two great characters. The way the narrator brings Eve and Jacob's characters to life was just so fun, and I think that highly enhanced my experience with the book. And again, because it is like a British written narrative, I think I was able to get the levels of comedic relief and like the British humor that I might have not fully grasp if I was just reading it with my eyes. So I really appreciated this read. With the week that I've had, it was definitely the lighthearted read that I needed. And the next book that I will be reading is The 7-Year Slip. I do have the audio on Libby, as I said. And this one, basically, Clementine, she moves into this apartment that her aunt used to own. And her aunt always told her, like, no matter what you do, don't, like, fall in love in this apartment or something like that. Like, her apartment has magical properties. And I guess Clementine never experienced those magical things herself. I presume that her aunt passes away and she goes to live in the apartment that her aunt owns, and she's having a bit of trouble with her work life. Is that a theme between these two books, actually? Maybe, yeah. So she is having issues with her work life and she's trying to, like, reconnect with herself or whatever. And so she is at this apartment that her aunt used to own, and suddenly this man comes in and he's like, I live here too. So I think it's a romance between her and this man, but the man in her apartment is somebody 7 years ago. So he exists in the past time frame and she lives in the current time frame. So this man had lived in this apartment 7 years ago, but now that she's in there, his presence is present. I don't really know how to explain this. That was a terrible explanation. I'm so sorry. I feel like it'll make more sense once I start reading this. I will go ahead and start reading this, and hopefully I'll be able to check in later tonight. I do have a few things that I need to get done today, but I know that with the audiobook, I will get a good amount read. I am just checking in, and I did start The 7-Year Slip yesterday. And I think that I got 5 or 6 chapters into the book yesterday, and then I had a bunch of other things to do, so I put it down. But this isn't like a spoiler or anything, but I was having a lot of trouble trying to describe the concept of this book yesterday, and the point that where I stopped at, it seems like her aunt's apartment is like a time capsule, and our main character, Clementine, falls asleep on the couch and she's woken up by this, like, man in the apartment. She, like, freaks out and she's like, who the hell are you? And this man's like, your aunt let me sublet this apartment and she told me that I should expect you to be here, so I just wanted to, like, let you know that you and I are going to be around. And she kind of freaks out. She's like, what are you talking about, my aunt? Like, at this point, she's grieving her aunt's death, and he's like, your aunt's in Norway, so it's just you and me, I guess. And she kind of freaks out and she leaves. The chapters that I've read have been interesting so far. She obviously met the guy who's going to be the love interest, and I've not read a sort of, I don't know, like, what the categorization of this is, because I know Ashley Poston has the Dead Romantics, where, like, the person falls in love with, the person the main character falls in love with is, like, a ghost. So, I'm not sure what that's about. And her most recent one, A Novel Love Story, is the main character, like, driving into a town that is from one of her favorite romance books. So it's like this very, would it be called magical realism? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in genre labels, okay? But, like, there is this sort of fantastical thing that she has in each of her love stories. And, usually when I read more contemporary, it's set in modern day. There isn't this magical aspect. But this one is like, she's just a regular old gal, and her aunt's apartment happens to be a time capsule. So I'm interested to see how this pans out. again, I know so many people who have really loved and enjoyed this one. And I mean, obviously, I know that they're going to get together at the end, but how that's going to work out with this person being someone who's like 7 years in the past, I'm interested to see. It feels a little bit mysterious to me. But that's the check-in. I have a bunch of things like house cleaning that I need to do today, so I definitely will be able to pop on my headphones, listen to the audio, and get a good chunk read. Hopefully I can get it finished today. I think the audiobook's only like 9 hours, so it's not too long. And hopefully I can get this vlog wrapped up and have it uploaded for you all to see. But other than that, I'm having a good time, and I'm just trying to get into the swing of vlogging again. It's been a minute, and having to talk to the camera again is kind of like, what was I even doing before? Couldn't tell you. And not that I was like a professional in any means prior, but like, just getting back into the routine of filming myself. But I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to go get some things done, and I will update you when I get further into the book and I have more thoughts. I'm here to check in. I am over halfway through the 7-year slip, and I wanted to do a check-in because I think I'll be finishing this soon. The audio says I have like 3 hours left. Yeah, so where I last updated was when she had first run into Iwan in the apartment, and she has this kind of pretty quick connection with him over this like weekend time that they're together, and she leaves the apartment, she goes to work, and she comes back and he's not there anymore, and like her apartment is back in the present. And I didn't expect that to happen. Actually, I thought that every single time she came back to the apartment it would stay in the past, but I think that makes it interesting because it kind of forces her to live more presently and be reflective, instead of like every time she goes home she's in this kind of safe haven and this little bubble. At the part that I'm halfway through at, Clementine and Iwan have met present day, and I wasn't expecting them to meet present day so quickly in the narrative, given this is like a 300-page romance book, so I mean the timing makes sense. But I just find it so interesting that they're meeting in person because he's looking for a publisher for his new cookbook that he's writing, and Clementine works at a publishing house, and so him and his agent are like just shopping around publishers, and she happens to be part of the publishing team for this publishing house, and they like meet, and he clearly is like, I know you, and she's obviously like, I know you. And the sort of tension between the two is so palpable, and I'm like, Ashley Poston, you are really writing the yearning, the wanting, the kind of grief, the confliction all so well, and I'm really enjoying how dynamic the story is, even though it's going so quickly. Like, I can tell the chemistry is there, even though it's like happening in quite a short period of time, and I think it's just so well done. They meet like a second time, and there's a bit of like this tension between the two. And she's like, I don't know why you're being like this, like all we did is kiss and whatever. And I'm like, is that all you guys really did? Is it? Because, she has only gone back to the apartment a second time and seen him in the past a second time at this point. And it's just like, what is all this tension? I want to know. Obviously, in her present time, she has no idea what happened like 7 years ago. For him, it's 7 years ago, but for her, it's like happening right now in the present. And I am just wondering when all those pieces will come together for her. But yeah, I will say I'm having a pleasant time. This, for me, feels a bit heavier than Eve Brown. Eve Brown had this very witty, fun, quick, bantery energy, but there was also a little bit of this self-discovery. But I think because Eve is that really bright, very easygoing kind of character, even the more serious parts of Eve Brown still had a lot of light to it, whereas this one, we are dealing with the loss of Clementine's aunt and how deeply that impacted her. And I've actually gotten to the point where we know why her aunt is gone, and it is quite sad. It's quite heavy. We don't linger so deeply in her grief that it becomes overwhelming in this novel, which I appreciate because, again, I've picked up this novel for something light, something easy to read, and something to just bring a little bit of joy in my life right now. But yeah, it's been a very fun read. I just think what an interesting concept to have this written in the way that, like, the apartment is a time capsule and, like, she's experiencing these two timelines. Again, I've never read a romance with this sort of, like, magical realism, sci-fi-ish kind of story plot, but I think it makes it very dynamic and interesting, and it's able to create this sort of tension that I think maybe in one flat timeline contemporary romance wouldn't have. I'm gonna go finish this read, and then hopefully I'll be able to check in and close out this vlog for you. I finished the 7-year slip, and I'm here to do a final check-in and close out this vlog. This book felt like such a warm hug. This book and Eve Brown both had very heartwarming moments, and I think what perfect books for me to reset this weekend and read with. And the ending of this is just so wholesome and hopeful. And there's also, like, this comfort in Clementine not really having full answers of what her future is, but just knowing that she wants to choose her happiness and she wants to be more active in her present life. I will say, again, it is a bit heavier with Clementine dealing with grief, and I would say to check content warnings because there are talks of suicide in this book. It's not in great detail, but, you know, if that is something content-wise that can be triggering for you, definitely do look at trigger warnings. But just overall, I think the way the timelines finally converge and the development of the relationship between Clementine and Ewan was just so romantic and so, like, heartfelt and so genuine and gentle and warm. And I'm just like, I get it. I get why I've been hearing about this book for so long. But I greatly enjoyed this one. I think this book and Eve Brown have just been the perfect books for me to read this weekend. I do feel much more joy and hope at this moment, and it was just such a fun time reading these. And I would say both audiobooks really had great tone. The narrators really brought to life these characters and really brought in the appropriate kind of tonality when it came to the fun moments and also the more serious moments. And I would say either picking up the book physically or audio, either way, I think you will have a great experience when you pick these up. And they're just so lighthearted and hopeful, and sometimes you just need a story that has that hope and that lightness to it. That is going to be it for my weekend reading vlog. I thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoyed. I am currently in the middle of making a video project that I am so excited to share with you soon, hopefully. It just depends on how long it takes for me to read the books for that video, but I hope you look forward to seeing that new project that I have going on, and hopefully I can stay more consistent with making content. If you did like this video and don't have anything to say, is there a sunflower emoji? If there isn't a sunflower emoji, you can put a pigeon emoji in the comments for the 7-year slip. But other than that, I am going to get going. But thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!